Looks just so amazing, Yari, and we're just so proud of your work. It's like just unimaginable that somebody is in the sky and just falling freely in the skydiving suit. You are the skydiving suit inventor and developer, and all of this. Like to live like that in this danger of falling anywhere and being in the sky with no device under you, just yourself and the suit and just with all the talent you have. So this is just such a wonderful thought to be so free. And how do you relate to freedom in general in life?
Oh, that's a really good question. And I suppose when you invited me for this program, you told me about your themes, and there were two themes, which were oceans and spirituality, that are very close to your heart. And I was thinking that, okay, what is the spirits and oceans for me? And if we start with and they are both connected in my world for sure. But spirits, I found out later, during my years in doing this, that it was all about knowing yourself. And there is this old Greek saying, know thyself. And there was the Egyptian Book of the Dead that was saying, for example, that self-knowledge is the basis of true knowledge. And when I started skydiving and martial arts and all different kind of things, that's one of the most hostile and dangerous environments and sports in the whole world. In fact, when I started developing wingsuits, the statistics were that 72 birdmen out of 78 had perished, not made it, when they were developing these suits, and they were not commercial. Nobody was, there were no gurus to teach you or coach you or tell you any knowledge. I really had to go cold feet there and study my own and start doing it. I had to be a real pioneering spirit with that. And so there we go. I just had to kind of push through my own limitations, my own fears. I had to become much better person, and in every way, not only technically in skydiving and so on, but to increase my knowledge and to rise over my own fears about everything. Because I mean I'm no fool in the sense, although like in the tarot card, when I started this, I was really the number zero, the fool. And little did I know that there are 19 other cards in the deck, when when you have to develop yourself. But that was maybe good in the beginning, that I didn't know about everything else. But anyway, so I realized that when we develop from the kid, we kind of protect ourselves and shield ourselves from all kinds of uncomfortable things about this world, but also uncomfortable things about our sensations. You asked me how I feel and so on, and we actually do have these 5 official senses, and if you incorporate all of those together, then we might develop the 6th sense. And but when you do something really extreme, where your life is at risk all the time, and you really have to use all those senses all the time in order to gain information about your very hostile environment and what you are doing there, and in order not only to survive but to thrive. That's when you can really lift all those the feelings that you have. And yeah, I don't know if you have any questions regarding this. Please go
It's
ahead.
just so.
Otherwise, I'm going to show you a small 1-minute video about that I just prepared for this one, about these feelings.
We'll go to that video in a while, but I do have a question because I believe strongly that the nature and the world is the same time visible and non-visible. So this is how nature is in my way to see the world. And we also work with this with the project by opening this door to the topics and conversations in a permitted way, in a very grounded way that we talk about. At the same time, we feel to the oceans and nature what we see, the experiences of the air, the sea, the animals, the ocean life, that still we also feel in our hearts and emotions, maybe intuitively and in our dreams, many connections to nature. So this is highly fascinating that a man is flying free fall and watching all of this from sky and seeing the oceans and maybe animals in the ocean, maybe there's a submarine, maybe there's a storm, a hurricane, or even dolphins or whales are swimming there. This is really fascinating also in a spiritual aspect. So before we go into this video and the material more, where we see your work and these photos that have been taken up there, how do you relate to nature, the oceans, and your life vision spiritually as well when you have seen the sky so much and the world from the sky angle?
So that's a very, very good question, and I've been thinking about it quite often and a lot. And in order to survive there, I had to try to figure it out how it all works. And nature has everything. It has earth, water, air, fire, and everything is connected in together. And there is all kind of life there, but there is also changing environment, which is extremely beautiful and important thing for somebody who is, whatever you are under the water, whether you are sailing on top of the sea or whether you are flying in the, which is sea as well. Actually, the air is water. Everything is kind of water in my world, and that all togetherness is ether to me. And you have to be part of all these elements all the time, and understand that there are some things that you can control, and then there are many things that you can't control, but you have to observe them all the time in order to, for example, avoid bad weather or very strong winds or something like that, just to give you an example. Or if you go under the sea, there are currents there that can take you easily somewhere. So to be observant, to be aware, that's spirituality to me.
Did this awareness and presence, being present, open more after these jumps in your life? Did you feel you felt more open towards life since you've experienced so many free falls and skydiving for so long? Did that change you as a person?
Absolutely. Every day, I hope changes me as the person, and I hope I try to change every day to the better. But of course, there are, sometimes there must be also some not so good days. So maybe you go down a little bit. But I try to change every day and elevate myself in some way. And yes, all these experiences that I put myself through. Lots of them that most people would consider completely nuts or crazy or extreme or even Russian roulette type of thing, although it's not. But yeah, they do change perception very, very much and grow awareness in oneself. At least
Yes. How, how about when you are up there? What would you say to those people who do not believe in the spiritual thinking or do not think that there is anything else than what we see with our eyes or what the science has found? What would you say to those after your experiences of skydiving for so many years and seeing the earth and the oceans and feeling the sky, the like sky element while you are falling? What would you say to those people how they would relate to nature when they haven't had this experience yet, which you have had?
Well, that's this age-old struggle how to explain the unexplainable to people who don't believe in unexplained. So um,
We're laughing because it's such an inspiration when you actually find those connections, and that's what it makes laugh. You know that it's such a happiness. So we wish people
absolutely.
would find that
And it's kind of
connection.
magic, you know. It's a kind of secret, but it's not secret. And but through the experience, it's possible to kind of open eyes to them. And some people, I guess, are more born to it. I was more born to these kind of experiences and so on. So they were not so strange to me. My world was always, since I was a kid, you know, full of wonders, you know, and mysteries, and I love the mysteries. And I'm guess even since I was a kid, you know, I tried to solve the mysteries and to become um, not afraid of them, because you know, but when I was a kid I was really afraid of everything. I really was. I was afraid of dark. I was afraid of heights. I was afraid of absolutely everything, and I just had to, you know, go through each and every boundary. For example, fear of darkness. I had to go to the forest alone and meet the darkness there and get completely lost until I panicked. And then, you know, I was able to calm myself down. And when I started to calm myself down, I started to see more and more and more. And the whole nature, I saw it was alive. It was kind of like they were speaking to me, and they were my friends. And I was no longer lost nor alone. Although I was alone there, but I wasn't alone. It's kind of hard to explain, but I had to experience that. And same thing I did with absolutely all of my fears that I had, so many. I had to face them and just, you know, throw myself out there and learn what that fear was telling me, and what it really meant.
Yes. Those pictures that people show and that they have taken from air of Earth and oceans and the Earth life are very fascinating. And even if we look at the astronauts' photos when they look at the world and the globe from space, it's fascinating. You see the oceans and the lands and different continents really far, and the clouds are there and everything, and the air. But still, there must be a physical feeling that is different. And then if you are in an object, let's say a small airplane with the noise of an airplane, or in a bigger airplane, you still do see the oceans from the sky, but it's not that same physical feeling as you have when you are falling in the air towards the earth and the waters. So during the fall, do you have a certain kind of a mindset that you go through?
Absolutely. So like I mentioned earlier, we have kind of lost the senses, but then when you go to the really hostile environment or potentially hostile environment, suddenly your senses, they can go, I don't know, 10 times more sensitive, or 100 times, or even more, if we suddenly realize that we have so much more. So for example, I can hear the change in the wind. So when I fly, I can fly over 300 kilometers an hour forward, and but when the sound in my ears changes, I know that the speed changes, and I know my pitch there, the sensation in my face and in my body, the pressure of the wind, that tells me about that which part of my body are touching the air which way, and it tells me about the changes of the orientation when I fly, and I can navigate and turn there and do things like that because of that air pressure. I can sense the G forces and things like that that give me all the time vital information. I can sense the pressure and temperature. So the temperature tells me a lot. Whether the more higher up I am, it's colder, and then the more the lower you come, it gets warmer. or if you enter the cloud, you can it can get much more colder. There might be little ice drops there that feels almost like somebody shoots you with a shotgun, literally. And sometimes we look like that. If we go through the hailstorm or something like that, it looks like somebody shot you with a shotgun. So you have all these senses there. You have your smell. Once I flew over in 3 kilometers height over the pig farm in Ohio, America, and I almost threw up in the free fall because the smell that came from the big, it was a huge one, with thousands and thousands of pigs. It was so horrible that stink that I almost puked there. And then of course, I have my eyes that gives me the eagle eye view or much bigger, broader view of the things. And I have to, if I fly with others, I have to see exactly what they are doing, because we are all flying so fast that if we bump into each other, we just destroy each other. So you have to be very aware who you're with and about your close environment, but you also have to be extremely aware of all the bigger picture where you're flying, because I can travel tens of kilometers there, and several times I jump above the ocean and in the clouds and within the mountains, and that kind of environment is extremely dangerous if you fly to the wrong direction. So you have to be all the time aware where you are going and look for the potential hazards, potential changing weather, mountains. There are all kinds of things actually in the air, and other planes and other jumpers. And then of course, where you are flying, you can't land in the ocean, because if you do, you will drown. So all these kind of things, and so you have to be really, really, really awake when you do all that.
It's interesting, comes to mind that nature, it is not only just pure fun, it's also can be dangerous. And not only the ocean, but the, mountains and difficult conditions in nature animals, nature life. So we need to respect that, and we need to get the connection as a human being. We can go to the extreme and we can experiment, but nature, it is a huge force that contains so much. And I guess you and I, how we spoke about this broadcast before we began, both know that there are so many unknown sides about nature. That is kind of like when you're up there and when people are at the oceans and in hiking on mountains, they still are finding only a little piece of the unknown, which is still, explored. And so this is really inspiring, and also makes me feel these physical feelings when you tell about them, how beautiful that sensation must be. You can never have that anywhere else except on that moment, in that moment. So it's really inspiring.
So yeah, I think that now we are going to the kind of deeper end to the things. But when you're doing these kind of things, you have to accept the reality that with every single jump or flight or whatever these kind of things you are experiencing, or just in normal life when you're walking on the street, although it's maybe less probable, but you are facing the death, you are facing your own death. So you have to come to terms with that what is death. And since I really don't know what's beyond the physical death and so on, it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to think that all this what I'm experiencing here right now and my family and everything, that would be ending within the next couple of minutes. But you have to face that in order to perform well, because if you let the fear grab you when you are doing something, it will freeze you. It will freeze you completely, your mind and your body, and it will take over you, and you cannot perform. I mean, you can't walk, you can't in the air, you can't open the parachute, you don't know, you cannot observe, for example, your altitude or where other people are. And that happens actually quite often, that at least for a while, people completely kind of lose it. And that's why for the beginners we have more experience. There are instructors who can kind of wake you up or come to even open your parachute if you were not able to do so. I've been doing that few times actually to people, so it's a real phenomenon. But anyway, so about that spirituality and so on. So to face your own possibility of the biggest mystery of all, which is the death, the unknown. And I think that in this world, it's quite rational that that is probably the biggest fear that people have.
That also regards the oceans. When we look at the part of very deep science of oceans, only a small part is covered with light. The light doesn't penetrate too deep, so there's a lot of darkness in the ocean, a lot of unknown. And To the Oceans Project also wants to bring forward these subjects, that there is this side that isn't so pretty, but we can still have a joyous, loving relationship towards these facts of life and nature and birth, death, darkness, light. They're all part of it. So we can be within joy with their truth, how things are.